Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead. Welcome to episode 154, Accountability That Actually Works. I wanted to take this episode to talk about a service that we do at Defend, Publish, and Lead that is something that I don't think a lot of clients know about, but it's something you can replicate outside of us. So if you're having trouble getting writing completed and you've already tried all of the techniques, so for example, you've joined a writing group, you're still not writing. You're having a regular meeting with your editor or your dissertation advisor and you're still not writing. Or you set all kinds of goals and you're still not writing. You go to your writing session, you're still not writing. You get the idea. So if you're having real trouble with actually getting some writing completed, and it doesn't really matter, at least in this instance for this episode, what the reason is. So for some people, obviously they're genuinely really busy, they're in a hard season of life, they have a chronic illness, death of a parent. There's all kinds of things going on that could be causing it. And there's also certainly the people that are just generally blocked for some reason. I'll put links to our episodes on that if you want to check out some different types of writing blocks you might be having. And we definitely have a fair number of people that come and find us because they just hate writing. They just hate it. They have tried it. They don't like it. They don't want to like it. We have a couple clients right now that have been in their careers 20 plus years, and they're working with us for exactly that reason. They hate writing and they need to get it done. So, of course, our mission is certainly to make writing as enjoyable as possible. And, for some people, it certainly is very intellectually satisfying and all that. But for other people, it's the research that's satisfying, or you like your teaching better, but at your institution, if you want to keep your job, you need to be publishing. So I wanted to say something today about what do we do with clients that come to us that have this problem. They have tried everything. They've tried sitting in their chair for 2 hours. They've tried the Pomodoro technique. They've tried everything and nothing works. What we will do, and this usually is the end of the line for some people, they're about to lose a fellowship. They know that they probably won't get tenure because they're so far behind on a publication requirement and so on. But what we end up doing with this is that we can schedule sessions where you actually log in and write with a coach. And this could take the form of a couple of different ways. So one, sometimes logging in on Zoom and having just one person who is expecting you to be there, you're paying for their time to be there, that can sometimes be enough for people. That's not what I'm going to really talk about today, because I think for some of you, you've already tried that and that probably hasn't worked. But for some people, that's enough, that they know, all right, I'm going to book a writing coach for an hour. I'm getting an hour of writing done today. I'm going to log in. I'm going to be there with this coach. In that case, the coach doesn't necessarily need to know anything about the project. They can kick off and ask you, what are some things you need to accomplish during the writing, give a couple tips to get started, check in maybe twice, and be there as you're getting the work done. In a lot of cases, clients and actually in many of the cases, I will invite clients who want to do that to share their screen. So that way, the writing coach, what they are being paid to do is to watch you sit on the screen, produce writing, you're logging into your documents, they can see if you're changing words. And this does a couple of things. I mean, for one, it can suggest to the client or to the coach what might be happening. So for example, if you're doing okay, you're, maybe revising a paragraph or you're inserting some sources, and then all of a sudden you stall out, and you've been stalled out for a while, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something, whatever it is. And it wasn't that you went to go grab a cup of coffee, that you're literally just sitting there staring at the screen. The coach can see you, with cameras on. They can see you with eyes and say, all right, I noticed that you're stopping at this point. What's happening right now? Are you trying to think through an idea? Do you want to run something by me? And it's almost like you have a live, well, it isn't almost, it is where you have a live person right there who can kind of see what is happening with the writing and observe. This is an expensive way to get some writing completed. So I certainly don't want to suggest that everybody should be doing this. But where I think it's really useful is if you haven't been writing, you could book 1 hour just to get yourself going again. And for a lot of the clients that will come to us in these emergency situations, that's what they do. So we don't require more than that. You can do 1 hour with us and never see us again, whatever you want. Like we don't care. on our end. But for some people, if they're genuinely stuck, or they just keep putting off when they're going to get back into their writing. So for example, we did in our previous episode, we talked about kind of avoiding the busyness of the holiday season, and we're at the end of the year of 2023. Many people take a couple weeks off at the end of the year, but then there's always people that sort of stretch into like end of January and they still really haven't started writing again, but they need to. This would be a way to make sure that it happens. So that's one way. Another way that writing can happen, again, is, or another way that you can have like live accountability, you can have writing happening, is sometimes you can do this again with a coach. We don't write it for you. We are not one of those services. I mean, we definitely are support. We don't do that kind of work. But what we can do, for example, is if you're really stuck writing, you could, again, book an hour, or book, more than that if you want, but book an hour with a coach, spend about 10 minutes talking about what is the writing task at hand that you want to do during the particular session. So you spend a little bit longer talking to the coach, kind of doing some troubleshooting, and then you pull up a section of your writing where you're having particular trouble. So we just did this yesterday with a client where this person was really struggling to make some connections between 3 different bodies of literature in a literature review chapter. And, of course, the coach is going to need a little bit of time to read. So in this case, this client also paid for a half hour ahead of time before this accountability hour to just give the coach time to just quickly read the draft, get a quick sense of what's in there so they knew what to suggest. But what happened live then is that the coach was able to suggest a couple of different moves in the writing. So the client's writing is up on the screen, it's being shared, and the client could then kind of try it and say, all right, I'm going to try this technique you just suggested. They could do it. So, it might take 15 minutes for them to execute whatever it is. But then the coach and the client then talk about what happened, how does it work, what would be a next step to go from here, and so on. So we've had some clients that have said, I need a whole day. I need a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with somebody to help me get some work on my dissertation done. Or I've really got to get this book manuscript in before tenure, whatever it is. And they might choose one of those two scenarios. So merely writing and having somebody right there watching you write. We're not doing anything else. We're not checking our email. We are looking at you writing. You can do that if if that's something you're interested in. You can also do a more interactive technique. And many of our clients that are regular clients with us do this. So they might write along for a couple of weeks. They're doing fine. They get to a problematic spot. They book a live time for coaching, and then they work through it with the coach. Sometimes we can even do things where we'll suggest, hey, you're trying to do this type of writing. Let's take a look at some model articles that you could use to do what it is that you need to do. And a lot of people use models. This is not a new thing at all. But the difference is that sometimes the coaches can look and see what is required from the writing task and pick out a stronger model in terms of the writing, not in terms of the research. So this is something that a lot of folks will come to us, and specifically why Defend, Publish, and Lead is known for our writing expertise. We're PhDs in writing studies, or we have additional PhDs in English or a related field with a lot of extra writing training. And this is one of the things that we do. So we try to identify what are some really good scholarly pieces of writing. What are pieces that are good models, not just on the research end, because of course, that's great. And certainly in some of the, hard sciences and some of the disciplines where maybe the writing can't have quite as much flair, maybe this is a little less important. But we find sometimes if we can find a good model of how an article is put together for you and say, this is why this particular article resonates with the reader. This is why they want to go read your work. Sometimes that can help. So this is all to say that if you're interested in doing an accountability hour with us because you just want to get some work done, I don't think this is something that can be done in a half hour. I think you need at least an hour to do it, but we do have coaches in all the time zones and everybody's willing to work with people at different hours. So if you're interested in, even if you're somebody that wants to do this at 11 p.m. at night, okay, we'll figure out a way to make it work. We have to work with your habits, so we're willing to do that if you're interested. And then finally, I just want to mention it that also this would be the least expensive time of year to do it if you are interested. So all of our writing coaching hours are $10 off until the end of December of 2023. So by 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, our system will flip back over to our regular pricing. But if you had thought about it, or you're stuck, or you've been listening to this podcast for a while, there's no minimum other than trying the hour if you want to try it with us. And as an additional bonus, starting in January, we will have monthly writing coaching question and answer sessions for anybody that's ever bought an hour from us or attended one of our workshops. So there's a good bonus for that. You'll get a code to do that if you're interested. So if you're interested in exploring this, let me know. I can be reached at Christine@defendpublishlead.com or Christine@defendandpublish.com. Both of those emails will get to me, and happy writing.